Too black, too strong. Too black, too strong.
The problem of the black people in America is inseparable from the problem of oppressed people all over the world. And until the leaders of black America realize that our problem is inseparable from the entire international problem, we will be considered a minority, will be considered an underdog, and will be begging for the things that we should have had when we were born.
I do see more unity because the power structures in the South are forcing us to have more unity. You know, there have been a class split with the black community. That's being moved because we are finding out whether you middle class or no class is no different. As long as we black, we in the same boat.
I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. After about a week, that song is gonna change to we hungry, we need some food. After 2-3 weeks, it's like, you know, give me all the food, breaking out the door. And after a year, then you just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, you know, with civil rights movement. We was asking, you know, now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're gonna do? Ask?
What's up? I've been going back and forth in my mind, like, how am I going to get this out? And of course, I decided, like everything else, go straight with it. Just one take, speak from the heart, because that's what this whole channel is about. That's what I'm about. I'm not good at prepping. I'm not the kind of person to let things stew too long, because if I start to ruminate, the message might change. And I want to start this off with a realization. There's 3 parts to this, but we're going to start with the realization. To the black community, to the gang members, I apologize. I came at y'all wrong. That is not how I want to operate. I want to move with decorum, and I want to start by saying, I'm sorry. I did not speak to you how I intended to. I did not get the message across how I wanted to. I didn't speak with a mature mind. But here I am. I'm just like you. I grew up in Pond Lawn in St. Louis, Missouri. I did. Man, I could throw a rock and hit the elementary school. It was that close. Like, in that time, my very early youth, my family, cousins, older cousins, they were cripping. Just keep it a buck. My family was gang affiliated, and even though they did everything in their power to make sure that I wouldn't follow down the same road as them, because they believed in their hearts that I had something that they would never have, and that is an opportunity. I wish I could go back and tell them that they had those same chances that we did, but there's no way to do that.
My biggest regret is sometimes joining the gang. I didn't need it. You know what I'm saying? I lived the life long enough to see that I didn't need it. My life would have been a little bit easier, man. I could have put a lot of energy elsewhere.
What makes a young man join a gang at 13? Well,
I could say just the things that were going on in the times when I grew up, it's just a lot of bullshit that we have to encounter, you know, getting jumped, getting banged on, you know. It created a lot of anger, you know what I'm saying? We already have repressed anger from daily things we had to go through in the neighborhood, but to deal with that with your own people, you know what I'm saying, on top of that bothering, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your dad made it tough at home, but then was there peer pressure for you to join a gang?
Yes, always. Yeah. Every neighborhood we stayed in, there was pressure to join their gang, their turf. And we grew up in a lot of Crip neighborhoods, and I didn't like it. You know, I had dudes, when we go to the grocery store, my father's age, banging on me. And I couldn't stand that shit, you know. I mean, they always try to make us feel like we were lesser than because we weren't from their gang. And until we were from their gang, we would beat somebody, you know. And I used to hate the aggressive behavior that we had to deal with, you know what I'm saying, until we were able to move from over there. And after so many times of going through this, you know, it made me despise them guys, you know. So I really didn't like the Crips. I didn't favor no Crips like that.
Yeah, the Crips and Bloods are just always bumping heads down there, aren't they?
My biggest hang up with I guess within my own community with people that really don't see eye to eye is if we don't see eye to eye on minor things, that just instantly disqualifies the major things. And I don't know why. I have an idea of why, but truthfully, it's beyond asking why, and it's the understanding that powers that were put in place years ago have done such a good job of disorganization to where they don't even have to disrupt the community. The community disrupts itself. We have taken the bait. Now, granted, this happened before most of our time. The people I'm speaking with, there's some older people too, but I digress.
The only question would be, what kind of change do we want? I think everybody would be for that society. The question is whether or not it could come about under the present system of this government, or whether that system must be changed. I, for one, believe that it cannot come about under the present system, a capitalist system, that system. I think that if we have the same objectives, then it doesn't make a difference where we work. As a matter of fact, a man working to change the system with that objective in mind can do very much inside the system, once he doesn't lose sight of his objective.
We don't need to have the same philosophy, to have the same vested interests, the same basic principles, the same goals and aspirations. We don't need to agree on every little thing, but we do need to agree on that. Because if we're going to come together as a collective, it has to happen by us having a foundation to stand upon. It has to.
Consider the fact that this system, this capitalist system under which we're living today, is designed in such a way that nobody except a privileged few can attempt to express themselves or contribute to anything. There's no doubt about the fact that we have to talk about revolutionizing the system before anybody can live in any kind of human fashion together.
That's why I want to bring in the topic of unification. We really have to understand that even though we might be separated, the opposition and powers against you and I are not. You really think they ain't got tabs on everything we do? On everything we do. You don't think that our music, our intellect, our ways of being are not being monitored? I would wish that wasn't the case, but it really is. And it has been. Some of these clips I'm going to be showing you are from 1973 or earlier, 1960s. I just want you to understand that in 60 years' time, ask yourself the question, really, are these talking points truly that different than what's going on now?
In the summer of 1978, I interviewed a man who worked as an informer for the FBI during the 1960s. His name is Darthard Perry, also known as Ed Riggs, also known as Bill Perry, also known as Othello. How were you paid?
The pay was always in cash. Cash, and you would sign a card. It would go like this. A rendezvous or a drop-off point would be picked out either by yourself or the agent. You would meet the agent there. Usually it would be in a vehicle. You get in the vehicle, he would hand you the money. He would tell you first to count the money. He would tell you the amount while you counted it. If the amount was there, he would then bring out a card. On that card would be for the week of such and such. In other words, the week was dated. So-and-so has been paid the amount of. Then you would sign the card, and then the agent would sign the card. The reason for this is that if all of a sudden the IRS became very interested about where you were getting all this extra money from, you could always tell them to go back to the Bureau, and the Bureau would have your cards on file.
I see. Were there such things as bonuses?
Oh, yes.
What were they paid for?
Bonuses were paid for, suppose while you were meeting with, or you were at a meeting with Bobby Seals, Chulai of the Red Army happened to come to the meeting too, which is something which would be a new development. That's bonus time.
In other words, a hot piece of information.
Hot piece, very hot piece.
Did you ever suffer pangs of conscience?
Quite a few times. Quite a few times. I still suffer pangs of conscience. I suffer from the fact that a lot of people trusted me and I misused that trust. I suffer from the fact that a lot of information that I gave out was the undoing of certain groups or certain people. I suffer from the fact that I'm on the run constantly. I have no real life to speak of.
You have no family life, really? You have a wife?
No, I don't have a wife. I do have a child. I can't see her that often. I have to stay away from them because once I come around, the Bureau shows up and harassment starts. I have very few close personal friends, no one to really confide in. It's like being on the outside of a glass jar and everything is happening inside the jar, but you're on the outside. You can see it happening, but you can't participate.
Who benefits from our disorganization? Who makes it so? We have to butt heads with each other before there can be any sort of progress. It's been set up. We just have to start looking around to see who set it up. Once we figure out who sets it up, we can ask ourselves, how do we set up our own? Not just how do we set up our own, how do we organize truly? How do we put ourselves in a position to where we have the faculty, the ability, and most importantly, the space to operate?
The point I make is when I look down from an airplane and I see each one of us as organizational heads protecting our turf, I said, what the heck? We aren't protecting our turf, it's their turf. We don't have any turf. So if we don't finally come together to get a piece of the turf, then we aren't going to have any turf to protect. And I think it is possible, and if we begin to talk about ways of changing that.
If you don't believe that land is power, this is a question for the gang members. Why do you protect your block? What makes you feel like you have to protect the area around you? It's because of opposition. It's because of safety. It's just to make sure that your way of life will not be disrupted. But what good is that when we don't own the land we claim? And that was my biggest hang up with the gang community. We are repping blocks and we're fighting for things that we truly don't have a name to. If the city or government decides to come through, that's their land. It's not our land. We just need our land. And that is a great start. Land is power because that allows you to establish your borders. That allows you to establish your boundaries.
It took place in small Robeson County in North Carolina in 1958. The KKK, under Grand Dragon James Catfish Cole, was on a campaign of terror and killings across the state. They targeted Black activists and quote-unquote troublemakers, as well as interracial couples. Many North Carolina cops were suspected KKK members themselves, and so they did nothing about it. First, Robert F. Williams led an armed defense against Cole and the KKK in Monroe County. The Klan then targeted Lumbee people in Robeson County, calling them mongrels because of intermarriage. burning crosses at the house of a Lumbee woman and a white man, they put out an ad for another rally 5 days later in the Lumbee town of Maxton. The Lumbee responded, "If the KKK can bring their weapons, why can't we?" Even the local sheriff advised Catfish Cole that his life would be in danger. On the night of the rally, only 50 racists showed up and 500 Lumbee. The Lumbee encircled the Klan rally. They grabbed the Klan's amplifiers. That triggered the offensive. The Lumbee charged and opened fire. The racists were quickly overwhelmed and panicked. Cole and his crew ran away towards the swamp of Hayes Pond. The sheriff had 2 plainclothes cops in their demonstration who fired tear gas to protect the racists. The Lumbee group only dispersed after rounding up the Klan's weapons. The Klan fled the Robeson County that night and would not have a presence there for decades.
But we need to figure out if we want to build fences or castle walls, if we want to build bridges or moats. What do we want to do? How are we going to operate? I say we because we're in this together. If you look like me, if you got some curls on your face and your hair, if you my color, a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, guess what? We're in this together. Sorry, not sorry. We're in this together. And I would much rather work with you than against you. But if you don't see it that way, I totally understand. I can't tell you to fight. I can't tell you to plant trees whose shade you'll never sit under. But I can hope that you will. I know I will. Because we're not going to be here forever, y'all. No one is. And if you did, would you really want to be? Would you want to live in these conditions forever? I certainly would hope not.
What was the intention of putting forward the 10-point program? And you might summarize that, if you the 10-point program.
Well, the 10-point program tried to identify the basic needs and aspirations of black people. We within the 10-point program, we came up with basically we needed education, we needed decent housing, we wanted fair treatments in the court, we wanted medical care, we wanted the availability for food and clothing for blacks, and full employment. So the program was a comprehensive program to really lay down a blueprint for community development.
To the gang members, you are necessary. You will do things most people will not do and don't have the faculties to do and are just not built or equipped for. Every country has gangs and crime. Most countries benefit off of it under the table. We just don't talk about it like that. How are things getting through the border? Well, no, don't worry about that. It's just focus on the crisis, you know? And that's what it's really been this entire time. It's been a lot of people taking advantage of the weakness of the structure, but not really addressing the problem with the structure's lack of integrity. You, gang members, militia, you are our military. You have the tools that most people can't get access to. You are the boots on the ground. You know what the streets are saying. You can anticipate when things pop off. We all know that some people work with the gangs, such as, I don't mean like informants, but I do mean like law enforcement. They might have deals with certain districts and certain gangs. They might operate in certain ways. And when I tell you that with not a judgment. I don't feel that you're less than or a worse person because you will engage in those activities. I think those activities need someone to engage into, because they're prevalent regardless of if you do it or not. Someone's going to do it. All I'm asking is be responsible. Remember who you're supposed to protect. Remember that you're supposed to be fighting with and for us. It does no good to destroy your own community, because when you need help and backup, because opposition arrives, whether it be people that look like us or not, if you're damaging your own numbers and weakening your own station, it's only a matter of time before you're overrun. This is just strategy 101. If we're talking about war, the military cannot be shooting its own civilians. It cannot sustain itself by damaging itself.
We talk about it in terms of black people and integration, or black people and separation. It seems to me that that's a false dichotomy that has been set up in terms of the way in which the debate is discussed. The real issue I feel for black people is one of empowerment and one of redefinition of the way in which black and white people are interacting in society. I feel that's what we must be about.
This is a call for everyone to do better, myself included. Please do not think I'm asking you anything I'm not comfortable with doing myself. I need to be better in the community. I need to be more active in the world. I say all this to say, I understand you. I might not have made the choice that you made, but I understand why you did. I was ostracized. I remember empty house a good bit of the time. I was cared for to a degree, yes, but I lacked those social connections that came regularly. I went to 8 different schools in 12 years. I didn't really have a social circle built. And in doing all that, I can see exactly where a gang would be like a family, a brotherhood. But we just have to understand what a brotherhood really means. It's not just when things are looking up. It's not just the fall guy. It's not just someone to help you get ahead. It's everyone getting ahead and staying ahead. We're not in a position to where anyone can afford to fall back anymore. The middle class is evaporating, all according to plan. What are we going to do? I know what I'm going to do. If you have suggestions, if you have any thoughts, if you just want to express your feelings of frustration, go down in the comments. Go down to the comments. Talk to me. Talk to your boy. Talk to each other, because that's the only way we're really going to see any progress to start. It has to start with great, open, honest communication. It has to. Otherwise, there's going to be distrust at every level if there's not honesty at any level. And I know I've asked a lot from the community. I'm asking a lot of myself, things that I personally have not endeavored in to a large scale. But it has to change, and it's going to. It's already happening around us. There are more communities at work than you think, black community. Take a look online. Go on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, but go on Facebook. Read the news. Don't just read the bad news. Read good news too. There is more good in the world than evil. But evil is a little bit louder. Keep that in mind when you're operating and moving. And remember, there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to repeat that. There is nothing to be afraid of. So long as we got each other and God has us, there is nothing to fear. I say this with all love. Everyone, please take care. I thank you for your time watching this video. Whew, this was a doozy, I ain't gonna lie to you. All the videos and all the information I will have down below in the description. Please take a look at it. I implore you. Just because it's a little bit older does not mean it's not relevant today and it can't help us grow. With that being said, my name is Q. Peace.
Bí mo tilẹ̀ ń rìn láàrin àfonífojì òjijì ikú, èmi kì yóò bẹ̀rù ibi kankan, nítorí ìwọ wà pẹ̀lú mi. Ọ̀gọ rẹ àti ọ̀pá rẹ wọ́n tù mí nínú. Please don't be afraid.